Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Mrs. Asha Maharaj, Dr. Sheetal Bhoola, Mr. CPM Chunu, Mr. Kiran Singh, and online viewers. Good evening and a very warm welcome to the 6th episode of Pravasi Samvaad, Diaspora Dialogue. Our guest speaker today is Mrs. Asha Maharaj, who will be interviewed by Dr. Sheetal Bhoola. Dr. Bhoola is an academic and research scholar. She holds 2 master's degrees and a PhD in the social sciences and has a growing publication record. A little background on Mrs. Asha Maharaj. Professional chef Asha Maharaj has made her mark nationally and internationally in the food and hospitality industry for over 4 decades. Author of many cookbooks, multimedia personality, corporate home economist, lecturer, examiner, food and lifestyle consultant. She produces and presents a radio magazine program, including listener interactions weekly on 2 radio stations. With numerous awards and accolades, Asha Ji is recognized as a top culinary expert. I now invite Dr. Bhoola to conduct the interview.
Right. So, namaste everybody, and a very warm, hearty welcome to you, Asha Ben, and I would say Mrs. Maharaj, a name I think every Durbanite grew up listening to on the radio, on the television. When we spoke about food, your name was out there, it was synonymous. So, heartiest and warmest welcome to you, and thank you for gracing us this evening with your presence.
Namaste, Dr. Bhoola. Good evening to everybody. Thank you so much for those kind words. Now you've really put me on a challenging platform.
I don't think so. I think being a culinary expert in your space and with your years of experience, I think it's obviously coming natural to you. So if I may ask you, if you've got to unpack life as a culinary expert or as a renowned chef, unpack for us what life within those contexts means to you.
Yes, the life about a chef is very, very challenging, and it never ends. Once you become a chef, you have challenges all the time, and your time is not your time. You've got to choose a career, not chances. That's one thing I can advise anybody. It must be not by chance, it must be by choice, because you've got to know what you're going to be in for. You've got to go through formal training, which I did, theoretical and practical. And once that is over, you train either at a hotel school or the food industry itself. There are many well-known chefs who have actually grown up working in the kitchen, the different ranks. They've learned to cook, they're just by watching and working in the different departments, they have become a well-known chef throughout the world. And, of course, I went to hotel school. I got my, education there, my theoretical and practical training. And then experience makes you what you are. Experience makes you the chef that people look up to. And, you've got to do an internship. And your hands-on in-service training. Because, in the hotel or in the hospitality industry, you are moved around all departments, the hot kitchen, the cold kitchen, the pastry kitchen. You've got to have a knowledge and proficiency in menu planning, in making up recipes. All of these things are important. You've got to learn about different food groups, because when you get the title of a chef, people expect you to know it all, because you're dealing with people from throughout the globe. You might be running a very big restaurant, you might be running the catering department of a 5-star hotel, and people come from all parts of the globe. They might be there for a conference. So people are coming to a home away from their house. So you're going to make them feel that way. And what better way to make people feel good than to give them the type of food they will enjoy. And food is an excellent form of a communication too. So you've got to understand, what their needs are as far as food is concerned. the flavor and effect of the different herbs and spices on the food. You got to do, somebody's on a low carbohydrate or a diabetic diet, you got to accommodate them. And of course, you've got to be, your commitment to work must not just end, it's not an 8 to 5 job. So anybody deciding to become a chef should realize that first, it's not an 8 to 5 job. You're not going to go there in your fancy garb and finish off and go home and join your family for dinner. A lot of things have to be taken into consideration. You'll have long hours where you strive for perfection. You've got to have contingency plans in case of emergency when you're running a restaurant or an establishment that's catering for large groups. And of course, a life of a chef is very, very challenging. And I can tell you, because I only got into the chosen career of mine when I was well settled. Well, I can say well settled now, when I had my only child when he was 10 years old and gone to boarding school. And my husband, my late husband, is a professional. He ran his own office, legal office. And he's, we decided that it was time for me to go ahead and do something for myself. And being the Cancerian person that I am, I love to do something practical. And cooking was one of my first love. So just cooking alone for 2 people doesn't satisfy my urge to, so I wanted to do a lot more. And that's where I am now, after all these years of, going step by step, of course, the encouragement that I got. And well, Dr. Bhoola, I think the boy, if I'm the only one who's going to be talking, I need to know from you, what else would you like me to tell you?
So you spoke about, and you touched on something very important here. You're saying your international recognition, your localization of empowerment in your space as a female entrepreneur, culinary expert, all of that's been driven by experience, passion, commitment.
Absolutely. Commitment is very important.
Years of hard work. So tell us, if you've got to talk about your professional growth and your personal growth running side by side, how would you describe that? How have you grown personally from all of these growths that you've had in terms on the professional stage, from being on the smallest of radio televisions to national radios to the international platforms? Where has that taken you personally?
Okay, it all began when I was a full-time student at Hotel School, which was then known as the ML Sultan College. And as I mentioned, that I was married and I went to college. I think this might be of interest to some people. I attended my college days, every day that I went to class from 8 to 5 or 8 to 4. And my husband used to drop me at school. He'd go to the office, and when he finishes, he'd pick me up. So I was like a school child all over the place. And I wore a sari every day. I had a ship's jacket over my sari, and that was unique in its own presentation. People used to look at me and say, oh, there's a sari auntie in the kitchen. But I challenged people's thoughts, and because I had set a goal, and I made sure that my home was taken care of. And of course, my husband would drop me and pick me up. So everything was in place. My son was taken care of at boarding school. And, things around me were supportive. And, you've got to have all your goals set in order. You've got to, make sure that, your family is your top priority, because they are the ones who form your foundation for your growth. And you hear so often people say, my family let me down. I'm sorry, I don't think it can be said about men and, most of us. Families want to see us go to where we want to go. And, it takes more than one person to decide on one's progress, especially when you're married. You have an extended family, and they're the ones who will tell you, look, we're proud of you. They will talk to other people and say, my daughter-in-law or my daughter or my sister-in-law is doing such and such. And you wanted to know how did it all begin when I went to radio. When I was at the hotel school, we were contacted by the SABC to do the first Indian cooking segment. It only lasted for 5 minutes, but it took 5 hours to film. And these days it's done within minutes. And that's how new it was then. They came to my home in Durban, and I did a cooking segment on Indian food. And overnight, you become sort of known by people. Oh, this is the lady who was on TV. And then you have companies contacted you and wanting you to promote their product and do things for them. I was contacted by an international rice company, and they took me on, as their home economist, because I had the relevant qualifications. And when I worked there, and one of the things they wanted to do to promote the rice was to have a 5-minute segment on a national radio station. And I went and I did that, and it became very, very popular. And they extended it from once a week, a 5-minute segment, to twice a week. And eventually, for the 18.5 years that I was there, I used to do the program every day.
Yes.
Even when I retired from that company, the radio kept me because of the popularity of the program. And at that stage, I was also nominated for the best program maker because of the popularity of the program. It was the first of such a program where it was a live, interactive program where people could call in. Once I was sponsored and put there by a rice company, it didn't just end there. The radio, people phone with all sorts of questions. You can't be answering a rice question 5 days or 6 days in the week on cooking biryanis and rice dishes. So people used to ask about everything around the home. If you heard it, you probably know. How would you remove stains? How would you make marshmallows? How would you do anything for that matter? And because you put in that situation, you make sure that you know it. And that's where your research and your knowledge and your training as an all-round chef comes in. And you've got to tell people if something went wrong in somebody's kitchen, they would contact me immediately and say, look, I've been making such and such a thing, but the sweet piece didn't turn out the way you expected to. What did I do wrong? So if you don't know how you're going to tell them, so that's where I plunged into the so-called study of food and nutrition, balance on diet. So, you're able to answer people. Dr. Bhoola.
Well, thank you for that. And I mean, you spoke about how there's so much expectations of you, not just understanding cuisine, but I mean, going beyond cuisine in terms of utensils, apparatus, the tools, understanding your appliances and so forth. And of course, that's come with, of course, years of hard work. And you spoke about your challenges. And now let me understand this. So as you've been growing, you've been understanding what the needs are, what the requirements are, what the requisites are in terms of the companies that have been there to support you, lift you, and carry you through. Any particular challenge you want to share with us that, of course, stood out in terms of your personal growth as your journey just continued and expanded? Was there any particular challenge in particular you want to give some reminiscence to?
Yes, Dr. Bhoola, life never comes easy for anybody. The life always has a challenge. For every 2 steps you take forward, you have to, you might have a stumbling block.
Absolutely.
And you've got to think, now, how do I overcome this? Would all my training in a particular field help this, or do I have to get help? And people are there to help. Once you prove your worth to the world, people are there to help. So challenges as far as, doing more work, finding your niche in society and in your life. You want to achieve something, it doesn't just come your way. You've got to contact people. You've got to prove to people that, yes, you can travel and you can do the same thing in another province as you can do in your own kitchen, in your home. I was also put into a situation where I was given all the electrical appliances that I didn't even own in my home. A pressure cooker, a microwave oven in those days were unheard of, which is coming into the market in the 70s I'm talking about. And I would stand in a place promoting this microwave oven and a food processor, which was fairly new to the Indian household. And people would come to me and say, but a man will tell me, my wife is going to stop doing all this lovely food if she sees one of these magical things. How did you make that biryani in the microwave? Or how did you grind the chutney or the bara dal in the food processor? My wife does it with a grinding stone. You've got to explain to the man that, look, things are changing. If you buy this for your wife will have that extra time to go out and work, and there'll be more money. And then you can improve your lifestyle. You're going to make light of things and explain to people. But today I must tell you, I don't think there's a single Indian home. Now we're talking about the Indian home, right? The Indian home that does not plan the kitchen around where the microwave is going to be, the electronic 5-star microwave oven. So I am very pleased to say that I brought in something into people's lives which make the life of lots of people very easy. Today, when a student goes away from home to study, if the student has to provide for themselves in terms of cooking food and that, they have to take the small appliances. And I promoted all of these small appliances to their grandparents those years ago. Now today,
absolutely. If we got to shift back to yourself and you look at your personal difficulties that you've had, any way that has impacted your personal development, your career, your personal difficulties, adversities, how did you cope? What was your mechanism?
How would I cope, Dr. Bhoola, you said?
Yeah. How would you cope with your challenges? And
if you know where you're coming from, you would always compare yourself. I mean, as females, we always compare ourselves to your mother. I've got one better than my mother. My mother cooked on the chulha. I don't have to do that. I have got electrical appliances. So why should I have this problem? My mother didn't, personally, my mother did not even see the inside of the classroom.
So inevitably, you're saying you always looked at the glass filled rather than the glass half filled.
Half, yeah, that's true.
That has always been your mindset. Has there been any spiritual drawings on that? I mean, has there been spiritual beliefs and personal beliefs that shape that thinking?
Absolutely. I don't think that we are without the grounding of the spiritual belief. And that is where our culture differs from some people. I won't say everybody. Our culture belief gone to our tradition and our religious beliefs as well. There are so many things that we do that my companions or my colleagues who are raised apart were quite surprised that, oh, is this how you people eat? Yes, this is how we eat with our fingers. You wouldn't eat a roti with a knife and fork.
Yes, I think we're going to understanding culture now. And yes. So if I had to say to you, define your culture for us in terms of what it means to you in a personal perspective, from a personal space.
My culture is unique. I must say that at the very outset. And to me, it's so unique, and it is reflected in my personality. And of course, dress and food is one thing, but also there's a deeper understanding, deeper meaning in cultural display or cultural understanding. You've got to be polite to people. You don't talk at the same time. And, we've been also brought up where we knew who was, we lived in a patriarchal society for a long time. Before, even if things are equal in terms of education and running the home, but still I come from that background where my dad was the head of the household and he kept his position as the head of the household. My mother was educated in her own way to bring up her children, to teach them about life, humility, generosity, attitude. I'm proud to be Indian by race, culture, and religion. We have the certain days of the week where we would devote ourselves totally to God. we think of God every day, but there are certain days of the week where we want to say, well, this is a special day, like festival and, observances of certain, what we call big days in our life. Ganesh Chaturthi, Shivratri, things like that. And where's the point of sitting for hours and meditating when you can't apply any of that to your daily life? So meditation is an excellent way of finding yourself and also giving you the comfort that you need and also the stability in your life and also what to do next. It might not give you the exact answer of how you would run tomorrow, but those answers fall in place as you go along in your life, putting first things first and then the next step.
No, and I mean, you know what? I think we all, we in this diaspora, firstly, we're carrying our heritage. And I mean, in your career in particular, I must highlight that it's actually shaped, it's been a large part of your cuisine preference, the dishes you prepare, the flavorings, the textures, and you're drawing on our heritage on a continual basis. So that for me is very central to your understanding of culture. And if you take your cultural values as well, the lifestyle, I would say, how would you then identify your values? So we speak about the role of spirituality, we speak about identifying, paying tribute to our heritage. What else would you add to that when I say what your values are as an individual?
I think values are portrayed in your lifestyle, basically. How you see others. You don't, nobody is above anybody else. Particularly as a female, your values are to be, first of all, to be successful, to be supportive of others, to encourage people, and to get out the best in people so that everybody else can also benefit from your values. Your values are no good if it is hidden in a box and only used by yourself. Your values must reflect your upbringing and your general lifestyle and what you believe in. And that's how I think that's how value is judged.
And
what you portray.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, we speak profoundly of our culture, our Indian culture, our heritage. Where do you see that still featuring in your life as you go ahead from this journey? You've achieved so much. You've become synonymous with your local Indian cuisine, Durban Indian cuisine on the whole. Let's look at Indian culture. Where else are you going to incorporate it in your lifestyle, in your career? Or what you want to do with it? Is there any changes?
We're living in an age where there's a lot of cross-cultural mixing.
Yes.
The intermarriages and people dine at each other's homes more easily. Our children go to the same schools, they live at the same hostels. Everything is changed from when I was a teenager. Even the hospitals won't accept people of a different race at certain hospitals. But now it's not like that. People study at the same colleges, at the same institutions, and people move around freely from each other's, with each other's company and at different places. You're allowed to go and mingle. I live on the beachfront and I see that happen all the time. You don't see sections on the beach. Everybody is enjoying themselves, which is a beautiful art, if you may call it. It looks so artistic to see people enjoying a picnic or sitting together. And I would like this message to carry forward in the generations to come, that there is no difference. What a difference should a person's dress make to anybody else? We must be able to draw people in our culture rather than segregate or push them away. Indian dress and Indian food has become so popular globally. People who are a race apart are now using our Indian fabric to make up even the bridal wear, Western bridal wear, or home decor. You see a lot of artifacts. You see a lot of arts is displayed in a non-Indian home, which is so encouraging. They must have some respect for that to be able to do that.
And it's come with also, Asha, it's come with years of the Indian population becoming migrants. And I mean, the heritage and traditions and cultures and lifeways and even the religious outlooks have been migrated throughout the world. Where Indians up till today are still migrating and leaving India. So we speak about India's culture, we speak about its food as a soft power today on the global world, that it's constantly taking new places and it's constantly reinventing itself. And if you, at this stage, you've accomplished so much, I mean, tell us exactly how many books do you have?
I have done 6 books of my own under my own name. The others are on my name, but they're like in-house publications for companies promoting their particular brand of food. Like a canning company or a rice company or a spice company. So it's their book, but I have done it. And, if somebody wanted a special book for Diwali, just to give out the Diwali time and promote their product, it was a margarine company. I've done that. So, I'm busy with that type of thing all the time. And you can't just write something and give it to people not knowing whether or not it's going to work. It's a lot of detailed work. I won't say hard work, because with all my training, it's not hard anymore. It's very interesting, but it's detailed. You're going to make sure you give somebody a recipe for a particular food item. And, baking and sweet meat making has become a big thing in our community. Just about everybody. And right now, we're coming in for Diwali. There are lots of homes that are preparing for that, to make up festive food. And I'm getting all this calls. How would you make this? You can give them the recipe all the time, but still, some people just don't give it right because it requires different components. Like you got to make a syrup to make gulab jamun. You got to do a sitapeni in a particular style or banana puri with certain method. So you got to explain to people. You got to have the patience, first of all, to explain to people. And if something has gone a disaster in their kitchen, you got to have the shoulder to tell them, look, don't worry, it will all turn out right. You could have helped them also to, by the way, recycle stuff. We have done that. And, that is a very interesting part of my life as well. Nothing goes to waste now.
Any tips, while you're on the sweet meat and Diwali is coming up, and I mean, we're going to be celebrating Diwali on the 4th of November. Any sweet meat tips or anything for the young bride out there or the new homemaker that's attempting? Anything key and central for them to bear in mind?
Well, apart from giving me a call, which is free, I'm prepared to help anybody, and that's where I am in my life right now. The tip I can give you is don't compare with the sweet meat shops. Young brides particularly, they want to impress their in-laws. Do what you can do. People will appreciate you for making something simple, something edible, not wasteful. Nobody can afford to waste food. So make something that you can, and don't make 1 dozen things. You'll find that, and I'm sure you must have seen it if you haven't experienced it yourself, that people want to outdo the neighbors or outdo the other relatives. And then I have a big platter with a dozen different things. And who's going to eat food like that? If you specialize in making, let's say, sutafeni, it is an art to get that correct. It takes a long time for people to make jalebi, to get it correct. If you made just 1 item, made it beautifully, set it out presentably, and presented it to people, people will enjoy that, and then you'll be known for that freshness in that particular sweet meat making. Don't go out and try to impress others and sort of get sick over the stove. You're a young bride, you want to look good, people want to know what is your speciality. So whatever food you make, even if it is a thing like suji or vermicelli, which was, my Aja's and my dad's favorite, no matter what else people made, but they wanted those traditional things, and it was a must for Diwali. So make it properly, and lots of decorative items available, beautiful, platters that you can present it on. Don't be shy to show that you cannot make 20 different things. That's not the way to even celebrate Diwali, Dr. Sheetal.
Any tips going forward for anybody that wants to follow in your footsteps in terms of becoming a renowned chef, a specialist, a culinary expert? What advice would you give them?
Well, my advice to people would be that you must have knowledge and proficiency in whatever you want to do. You must also remember age is not a barrier. I am a septuagenarian. Okay, there's no end to learning. So if somebody's had a couple of children growing up, or the child is married already, they mustn't think of themselves as old, or I can't do this. Yes, you can. Who decides how old you are? It's only your own deeds, your own ability to do things, and the mirror will tell you whether you can or cannot do things. Nobody is here to stop you from doing things. As long as you have the brain power to absorb knowledge, and you have the willpower to go ahead, you are empowered. And I would like to empower people like that. And what I would like to do is also to continue to run skills training workshops so that people can be empowered. And I'd like people to remember me for that. And, I want to continue to contribute and add value to society and people's lives. That's what I'm all about.
And I mean, that I think is so phenomenal. I mean, here we've got somebody that's there that represents us within the diaspora, and not only is willing to give of themselves within our community. So I think, a big shout out to you and recognition and appreciation to you that at this stage, you want to engage in that level. And the fact that I think, like any young woman, we're always seeking for advice. People have different skills, different priorities. And the truth is also, we need these kind of expertise in our lifestyles. If you look at the role of a woman today, it is so diverse. 90% of us are career women. We're juggling motherhood, we're juggling home life, we're juggling your kitchen, then you're still juggling trying to be a good spouse and a friend, and the lists and the expectations are phenomenal. So we look to you, with seniority, with respect, and of course with a great amount of expertise. And I think any lasting comments that you want us to remember you by? And I mean,
well,
of your values, your cultures, your heritage, the role it's played in your life. The one thing that we didn't touch on is that, did you just have this love for Indian cuisine, or was it something that came naturally to you? Is it your palatable preference?
Well, when you talk about Indian cuisine, I sort of went in that direction. But when you go to hotel school, I must be honest, there was no special subject as Indian cuisine. We did stock-pot making, we did lots of scones and cakes and biscuits, and did a smorgasbord, but nothing Indian. But from the background I came, I wanted to show people that yes, we have a place in the hotel industry. And for the 5-star hotel that I was first headhunted for after my TV program, I was appointed there to actually advise the chef when they were, a big a big banquet with the Indian theme, or when they had guests coming, some ministers coming, and they wanted something done Indian. I had to advise how to make such and such a thing. So that made me feel very good. And I also made a trip to which is now Zimbabwe. It was called Rhodesia then. I worked for the Southern Sun Group, and this is going way back. There's so much that happened in my life, and I don't want to be talking about all that. It's nice to remember all of that. It gives you a good foundation. But what we do now and what we leave behind and what people continue with is very important. I went to Rhodesia and I did a live program, half-hour program, cutting up a chicken, cooking it with the in-house chef there, or the resident chef on radio, on TV. And that was excellent. And, I went to promote Durban as a tourist attraction. that time the Southern Sons group was traveling around. They took the rickshawala, they took me as a chef, an Indian dancer, and other hotel managers in the Southern Sun group went to sell Durban as a holiday destination. And, it was so enjoyable. And people knew that Durban was the curry country. And, for the food, I made mayoral lunches there. And it really was wonderful. That was one experience. So I've done that. And, you spoke about juggling with professional life and being a career woman and still having to go home and do things. Even if people have a qualified cook at home, the woman of the house sometimes has to stir the pot. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, Dr. Bhoola. There must be some time in your life, even if it is for the puja that you're going to do, you will have to make the prasad. So it is important for people like myself to make sure that I equip people like yourself, or not say personally, but people who have not done it to be able to do it. And it's people that made me. I must be honest and admit at this stage, because you cannot have a live program on radio or TV or write books if you don't have the people to support you in reading and making use of that material. So where's the sense in doing that if you don't have the people support? People supported me. They made
But I
me.
think also, yeah, but I think also you've also been adding value to their lives as well. I mean,
Yes.
Life skills, cuisine preparation, and very artisan types of food that come from our traditional heritage is a skill. And I think when you empower people to engage, to adopt the skills and learn the skills, it's empowering. So I think kudos to you there.
Well, a highlight of my life was, and as I'm talking to you, it all comes drops. Sanjeev Kapoor, the world renowned chef, he did 2 sessions with me here in Durban. And, they told me that 28 million people around the globe watched it. And they didn't know me personally, but through Sanjeev Kapoor, I did a South African Indian cooking here on 2 sessions. And it was broadcast over, 2 weekends. And that was such an experience. And, he paid such good compliments to me. And, so I must have done something really good. And I have done many cooking series on my own on the various TV channels. What else can I tell you? I mean, all of these put together, the book was now being awaited by people. People ask me, why don't you put it in a book? Why don't you put it in a book? We can't go on writing in pieces of paper. So that's what gave me the courage. And, because I thought now we're getting along, we're giving radio, TV, and people are phoning me and giving them recipes. And I wrote for a national newspaper for 10 years. And that, and not only Indians read that page. It was a center spread. It was read by all people. So I feel really proud when I stand on a platform doing my cooking demonstration at a food fair, and I have people of all color sitting there. They say, I remember you, I read your recipe, and I got your recipe for such and such, for this pickle, that chutney, that curry, or that cake. And, they don't have to be all Indian. So it's not only the Indian people that have been supporting me. So I had to do a recipe book that would be read by everybody and enjoyed, and with the local produce, with the ingredients that are locally available.
Local infused dishes, yes.
Whilst you're cooking, you're doing a traditional cooking, but people don't have to say, but I can't even get this type of ingredients here. We don't know about it. You've got to tell people that yes, you can, and that encourages a lot of people who are trading in spices to bring things from abroad here and sell it, because there was a demand. They've heard it on radio, so now where is the masala? So it's here now. That's how we.
No, thank you so much. Any future aspirations? You've achieved so much. Anything for yourself that you want to foresee now in the future, besides your community upliftment projects and, you know, being there, helping younger women? Anything else you want to achieve on the personal side in your career?
You know, when you come to the stage, as I mentioned to you, I'm a septuagenarian, and I just like to be at peace with myself and make sure that everybody else is happy. When you come to a stage in your life, you want to see everybody else satisfied. You don't put yourself first. And you know, I want people to aspirant chefs acquire as much knowledge in all types of cooking, grasp every opportunity, whether it's banquets, food fairs, TV, because as far as and as long as I can, you will see my face, and otherwise grasp it and carry on with that. And that is my lifelong wish. And you know, people want to be remembered by what they leave behind. And nobody
Absolutely.
says, yeah, people don't want to talk about how much you got when you are gone. They want to know what you left behind for them so they can continue. And that is my my wish, Dr. Bhoola.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, for being here, spending this hour with us, telling us, you know, what you've done, where you've been. And I mean, the mere fact that you've been out there and, you know, carrying the flag of the Indian South African. And I think that alone is remarkable. And not only that, I mean, your career began during the apartheid era. So to you for all your achievements, where you've been, where you're going, and where you're leading the rest of us as young women out there. So thank you for that.
Well, I hope people who will listen to you and I talking today, we will really grasp the opportunity to go along with it, because there are people like us who are available, and people like you and the Indian consulate makes it possible for us to connect with other people and share. And if we didn't have people supporting us, giving us a platform to share, where is the need, or where is the sense in having acquired everything when you don't have the platform to share it?
No, absolutely. So gratitude to the center as well, and namaste, and thank you, Asya, okay, and Dr. Yogi.
Thank you very much. Namaste to everybody.
Thank you for that enlightening discussion, Asha ji and Dr. Bhoola. Indeed, an honor to have you on our platform. We have now come to the end of the program. I would like to invite my colleague, Mr. Sipiwe Mchunu, from the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India, Durban, to render the vote of thanks this evening.
Namaskar and greeting to all of you. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, it gives me a great pleasure today to deliver a vote of thanks on today's 6th episode of the program, Pravasi Samvaad. Allow me to thank our online guest. I will start with Mrs. Asha Maharaj ji, a well-known chef in Durban. And secondly, allow me to thank Dr. Sheetal Bhoola ji for conducting such a wonderful interactions with Mrs. Asha Maharaj ji. We, you know, when we're listening to this wonderful story of Asha ji, you know, it's a very good story. You know, I was just glued and listening, and she has a very rich history in this hospitality industry. So to Asha Maharaj ji, thank you very much, ma'am, and Dr. Sheetal Bhoola ji, thank you very much, ma'am. We really enjoyed the interactions this evening. To Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Asya Nabi, Hiren Singh, thank you very much for taking part on today's program. To all our online participants, we'd like to say Dhanyavad for taking part on today's program. You are kindly advised to visit ICCR in Durban Facebook page for all updates regarding cultural activities organized by Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Devon. Once again, to our online guests, Mrs. Asha Maharaj ji, Dr. Sheetal Bhoola ji, Dhanyavad. To all of you, have a wonderful evening. Namaskar.
Dhanyavad. Namaste.